If, like me, you believed in the sheer power of the LeBron James-Anthony Davis duo enough to envision the Lakers back in the finals after a humbling first-round exit in last year's playoffs, the first half of the 2021-2022 season has probably been disorienting. And if you still believe this team should be a contender, what you're seeing right now from the Lakers, who are struggling to stay above water in the Western Conference, might be breaking your brain. You're probably asking yourself what's wrong with the mighty Lakers, and generally wondering why they've been so disappointed. Things got so bad that LeBron recently apologized to Laker Nation, vowing to be better. It won't be so easy though, because this isn't an issue of effort or underperformance, no matter what Magic Johnson says. The ugly truth here is that this flawed team just flat out stinks, and there's little even an all-time great like LeBron can do about it. The roster construction and decision-making at the executive level have been the biggest issues in LA, as Rob Pelinka and company once again failed to surround King James with enough shooting, defense, or secondary creation. Making matters worse, the guy who was supposed to address that latter deficiency, and who the Lakers basically sold the farm for, is playing the worst basketball of his career.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Averaging roughly 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists in a down year seems like the kind of floor most players would kill for. But Russell Westbrook's impact doesn't come close to matching those gaudy numbers. First of all, he's using roughly 22 possessions a night to score those 18 points. And he still thinks shots like this are a good idea despite being a 30% three-point shooter.
Frenzy. Yeah, Lakers standing around here though. Russ gonna try a three. Russ is empty tonight from three.
Maybe Russ has been hanging out with Rob Lowe while confusing him for Pelinka.
It might have been when I gave a player who shall go nameless a quaalude, and they went on an over 60 shooting slump.
Okay, yeah.
Russ is still getting to the rim, just ask Rudy Gobert, but he's not finishing consistently enough once there. And the Lakers aren't shooting well enough to make the most of Westbrook's drive and kick game. Oh yeah, and he's as disinterested on the defensive end as he's ever been. But the thing is, the Lakers' problems extend far beyond just Westbrook's continued decline. And it's not his fault the team gave up Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for him. Whether it was Pelinka's idea or a machination of Le GM, it's ass-backwards moves like that have contributed to LA's slide since their 2020 championship. A championship run which was of course aided by mortgaging much of the franchise's future to land Anthony Davis. The sequence of foot shooting moves since their championship run are only more mind-boggling when you consider that Pelinka's Lakers didn't think trading for soon-to-be free agent Kyle Lowry was worth giving up talent Horton Tucker at last year's trade deadline. At this stage of their careers, Lowry is both a better player and fit than Westbrook is. Yet the Lakers scoffed at acquiring Lowry, then turned around and gave up way more to acquire Westbrook. Lowry could have helped the Lakers put forth a more competitive title defense last year, and whether he stuck around or not, the team still would have been in position to make a deal for a player like Buddy Hield, or to just keep most of the better fitting talent it dealt for Westbrook. Now the Lakers are a capped out, aging, 500-ish team without the asset capital to really get better. They can't trade a first rounder until 2027. And they'd likely have to move that pick if they want another team to take Russ off their hands. It's important to note that Frank Vogel isn't blameless in the way the Lakers have flailed around this season, but there's no way his head should roll while Pelinka still has a job. As a team builder, Pelinka's best moves were simply that LeBron and AD wanted to play in LA for the purple and gold. The Lakers' loyalty to Pelinka, Kobe Bryant's former agent, is another example of the legendary franchise giving too much credit to anyone associated in any way with the team's success in bygone eras. How else do you explain advisor Kurt Rambis, a 4-time champion as a player with the Showtime Lakers of the 80s, still reportedly having influence over team decisions? The husband of Jeannie Buss's best friend may have been a fine player, but he also won 28% of his games as a coach, and reportedly believes the solution is playing Dwight Howard and DeAndre Jordan together more.
You can't be serious.
Now, an obvious solution that requires zero effort or basketball intellect is getting the recently returned Davis healthy again after the superstar big man suffered a knee injury in mid-December. Without AD in the lineup, the Lakers are simply a bad team, made to look average thanks in part to LeBron's greatness. I mean, look at this team's rotation outside of James and Westbrook when Davis isn't there. No wonder the Lakers are flirting with being a bottom 10 efficiency team on both ends of the court. But even with Davis this year, the Lakers have been unimpressive. Whether due to the fact AD himself was playing below his usual standards, especially on the defensive end, or because the team around them was worse than it's been in previous years, what was so concerning about the Lakers' start was that they were barely scraping by in the minutes James and Davis shared the court. Those Bron Davis minutes used to be guaranteed wins, and were the reason many believed as long as those two were healthy, the Lakers still had a puncher's chance to compete for a title this year. But based on what we've seen so far this season, plus the supporting cast around them, and the limited avenues to do anything about it, forget titles. The Lakers look like they'll need James and Davis at their best just to avoid the play-in again. Not because this team isn't trying hard enough or because they're playing below their standards, but because they're just not good enough.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button.